morning, brothers. JK, your brother, in the struggle here, on my way back from the gym. And today we're going to talk, or rather, I'm going to expound a little bit more on the concept of outcome independence, which simply means not being focused, or not even worrying about the outcome of the short-term aspects of a big goal. Let's say you have a 2-year goal, and you have broken this 2-year goal into 8 different pieces, right? And you've broken them into quarters for the entirety of 2 years. Now, there are goals at the end of each of these quarters. However, if you stay too focused on the results of the short-term goal, the goal that makes up the big one, then it's going to be very challenging for you to accomplish the bigger goal, because you're so discombobulated, you're so upset, and you are basing the ultimate goal, the ultimate result, you are basing it on what happened during the first little chunk in the process. I'll give you an example. I'm going to share an example that a mentor of mine shared. So this isn't mine, but it was like, if you're traveling, you're flying. Let's say, for instance, I'm flying from Kansas City to Albuquerque, and I have 2 layovers, right? Maybe one in Scottsdale and one in Denver. Now, I understand that at the end of the day, or at the end of 2 days, or ultimately, doesn't matter how long, I'm going to get to Albuquerque. The plane is not going to send me back to Kansas City. I am going to get to Albuquerque. However, on my flight from Kansas City to Scottsdale, when I get to Scottsdale, there might be a delay, right? The weather might be bad, and I miss my flight. Now I get to Denver, but because my flight from Scottsdale to Denver was delayed, when I get to Denver, there's no plane flying out that evening. So they're like, hey guys, here's a voucher, you guys go stay in a hotel. Now my flight has been delayed. There's no flights. I'm no longer arriving in Albuquerque at the time I expected. Let's say I have a rental vehicle there. Let's say I have stuff set up there. None of that stuff is going to happen the way I planned on it happening. But the next morning, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to take the shuttle to the airport, and I'm going to fly to Albuquerque. Guess what? While there were some inconveniences, I view these as minor inconveniences because they are expected when you are flying within the United States. What's important to me is that I arrived in Albuquerque, and 24 hours later, after arriving in Albuquerque, or an hour or 2 or 5, who knows, 15 minutes after arriving in Albuquerque, or even on the flight on the way to Albuquerque the next day, I don't give a shit about all the things that happened. I don't even remember. Now, that is an example of outcome independence. If you're not outcome independent, then what happens is the moment your flight is delayed, and you'll see this in the airport if you're in that situation, you lose your shit. You absolutely lose your shit. You're complaining, you're pissed off, you're angry, you're going online to give negative reviews, you're finding other people that you can bitch to. You're like, oh my god, I'm never gonna travel this way again. This is so hard. I'm never gonna get to Albuquerque. Literally, that would be being not outcome independent. Freaking out about the end result. And a lot of men do this when it comes to their reboot. Constantly doing this when it comes to their reboots. You slip, you relapse, and it's the end of the world for you. I'm never going to rewire my brain. I'm always going to struggle with this behavior. This sucks, this is it. I'm just a guy who slips all the time. That's my life. That's just the way it is. I don't even know what's the point. What's the point of even traveling? Right? I'm just going to stay here in Kansas City and live out the rest of my life. I'm not going to be adventurous. I'm not going to look into other business deals. I'm not going to go travel to visit friends. I'm not going to go on vacation. I'm not going to see the world. I'm just going to sit in Kansas and rock. That's what many of you guys are doing. Some of you do it in your dating life, right? You go on one date. Your ultimate goal is to find a wife or a long-term partner. Then you go on one date, or you try to go on one date, she flakes on you. fight. You go on another date with a different girl. She shows up, amazing. Everything goes really well. You go back home, you're like, I had a really good time. It's really nice meeting you. What are you doing next Thursday? She doesn't respond for 24 hours. The next day she hits you up and says, hey Jim, it's really nice meeting you yesterday. You're a really nice guy and I had fun. However, I just didn't feel like there was a spark between us. So I don't think this is going anywhere. You're pissed. You're upset. Oh, you know, the dating world sucks. I'm not attractive. Chicks are not into me. I was really hoping she was the what? Second date. The first date that actually happened, first one, didn't happen. She didn't show up. This is a different girl. But you're drawing conclusions about a long-term goal based on this. Do you see how that disrupts the long-term goal? So outcome independence at the end of the day, gentlemen, it's about pretty much not caring about what is happening in the process, because you're supposed to fail. Right? I don't even like using the word failure. You guys know that. You're supposed to trip. There's supposed to be things that are challenging. This is part of the process. Now, if you already know that if you're flying somewhere, it is likely that there are going to be delays. If you already know that if you're going to find yourself a wife or a long-term partner or girlfriend or whatever, you're going to face rejection. If you already know that in the process of ending a compulsive behavior, it is very possible that there are going to be slips and relapses, why would you give a shit about the slips or relapses? Why would you give a shit about rejection? Why would you give a shit about the delays in the flight? Like, literally, why? You know what's going to happen. You have this amazing brain that is like, yo, it is likely this is going to happen, yet why do you get upset about these things? Can you imagine the amount of progress you would make? Can you imagine the peace of mind you would have if you made the decision that I don't give a shit about the individual outcome of anything on the way to the goal? This doesn't mean that you don't read the data. You read the data because obviously if you can avoid it, you're going to try to avoid it, right? Don't get me wrong, right? If you're you're like, okay, flights get delayed. I noticed that United Airlines is more likely to get delayed than Delta. Like in the future, you try to avoid these things, but if Delta still gets delayed, it's okay, right? You still don't give a shit because your ultimate goal is getting to your destination, and that's all that matters. And gentlemen, I'm telling you, if you can just put most of your energy into mastering this, you will be a much happier individual. And I learned how to master this. This is a story for another day because I gotta go start a coaching session right now. But I was a person who was very averse to pain. I was a person who was always like, fuck, shit, like this, all the time, every time this shit happened. I was that person. I was so impatient. I just wouldn't accept the reality that it is a universal law that shit will go sideways. And I decided, okay, you really suck at this, man. Why don't you just don't give a shit? Just assume that, not in a negative way, but in a neutral way, JK. Just assume that shit's gonna go wrong. Like, the only thing that matters is you hit the final goal. So just assume you're always gonna walk through hell, and you're always going to tread through shit and dig through shit in order to find the thing you're looking for. Right? I'm out. I'm all out. That's all I have to say, gentlemen. I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you found it helpful. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. And gentlemen, if you have the chance, make sure you join our free Facebook group. I'm going to leave a link to it here. Some of the guys in the Facebook group are going to see it. Obviously, ignore it if you're in the Facebook group. But if you see this outside of our group, you're over the age of 18 years old, ambitious guy, trying to end your behavior, then fill out all the questions and we'll let you in if you're a good fit. All right, take care. Bye.